What's up everyone, welcome to the channel. Today's video is going to be a follow-up to my previous Quickjack video. You can see one of the lift assemblies here on the floor. This particular model is the BL 5000 SLX. So the specific issue, well, first let's back up for a second. So in the previous video I talked about how I tried to make some modifications to the jack to be able to lift the car easily in my specific use case. Some of the comments were, pretty helpful, and then other ones were just simply statements like operator error and you're doing it wrong and stuff like that, and that's great, that's fine. So this video, the first half of this is going to be to clear up some stuff. First of all, I never said the Quickjack doesn't work. Quickjack works. It works exactly as they say it's going to work. And you get everything you absolutely need to lift a car when you buy this. You can see that rubber block right there. And then there is also a smaller, lower version of that. When you buy the Quickjack, it comes with 4 of them, so 2 for each side. You can use them to lift the car along the pinch weld, however you want to do it, on the jack points, whatever the case may be. So with that being said, I wanted to show the maximum lift distance on this model of the Quickjack. So you can see, have the tape measure there. Make sure people don't think I'm pulling any funny shit here. So here it says it's about 59.5. The measured distance is actually 60, and I'll show you that at the front there is a slight bit of a gap there, so I'm fine with saying that the overall lift distance of this is 60 inches. The problem is the 2 notches along the side skirt on my Hellcat are at 66 inches. So the Quickjack doesn't reach the front pinch weld spot and the back pinch weld spot. Again, this is my specific issue, not a problem with the Quickjack. So with that being said, I bought these pinch weld adapters. They're by ZL1 add-ons. Again, these work exactly as they're supposed to work. They connect to the pinch weld. There's a couple of little magnets down in there that actually hold them onto the pinch weld. They fit perfectly in the actual notches on the pinch weld. But again, those notches are at 66 inches. So I can either hit the front notch or I can hit the back notch. With those adapters, I can't hit both. So again, the adapters work exactly like they're supposed to. So then everybody says, well, just use the rubber blocks. Well, that's great, I've done it, and that's how I've lifted the car. The problem is, the rubber blocks, being on the pinch weld, put stress on the bottom of the side skirt. So, probably not going to be able to see it that well under there, but that side skirt wraps all the way underneath the car and butts up against the pinch weld. So when I use the rubber blocks, the problem is it puts a ton of stress on the plastic of that side skirt. Thus far I haven't had any problems, but I would rather not have to worry about having any problems at any point in time. So the original goal was to build these wooden blocks that you can see in the jack right now, so that I could use those pinch weld adapters and not have to worry about using one of these rubber blocks and trying to hit this rubber block with this pinch weld. I mean, if the block is sitting like this on the pinch weld, I have to hit that thing, perfectly centered. Well, maybe not perfectly centered. Maybe some people don't care where the thing sits, but I do. I don't want the damn car falling off the jack. So basically, I want to hit that thing perfectly. So in the front, I can use the pinch weld adapter. So in the back, what I've been doing without the blocks is not using the pinch weld adapter and just hitting the block someplace on the pinch weld. So of course, you got to move this around inside this opening to find the perfect spot that's not putting too much stress on the on the side skirt. So that's what the process has been thus far, without the wooden blocks being in the jack. So the original goal, like I said, was to use the wooden blocks, use the pinch weld adapters. That way I could line this thing up under the car, and since I have the whole point open to use, you know, I can hit this thing pretty much anywhere on the wood and still be, you know, all right. You know, obviously the goal would be to get it as much in the center of the wood as possible, you know, so hit it possibly there in the front and then hit it as far back as possible to spread the load on the jack as much as possible. But again, because of the length of the car and the length of the jack, that's not happening based on the notches that are currently in the pinch weld. So one of the most recent things I did was I got a different type of adapter to try to solve that problem. The specific problem I was having with the red adapters were the sidewall of this adapter is too thick to get between the pinch weld and the side skirt. That's how tight the side skirt is against the pinch weld under the car. So somebody online recommended a different type of jack or pinch weld adapters that ZL1 also makes. And you can see, it's this right here. You can see that that sidewall is way thinner than this one. So I figured, all right, well that's good. That's going to give me less room to have to get between the side skirt and the pinch weld. And that's pretty thin, so it should work. So I put it on the car as far back as I could. I had the jack under the car so I could see how far back to get onto this piece versus this piece. And what I found is this does in fact fit between the pinch weld and the side skirt. But this piece being so thick now is actually hitting, you know, parts of the framing and parts of the other stuff underneath the car so that it still won't sit flush against the pinch weld. So with all of that being said, over the last 7 minutes, at this point, my only recourse to me, I'm sure there will be people out there that will say there are other options, and that's great. It's your car, you can do whatever you want. For me, it seems like for me to do what I want to do using those wooden blocks, not having to worry about perfect placement of the rubber blocks, putting stress on the side skirt and all that other fun stuff I already talked about, the only option I have at this point is to actually make a notch on the skirt underneath the car to kind of match as far back as I can get and use the original red pinch weld adapters. So the goal of today's video, other than clearing up all of the other stuff related to the use of the Quickjack itself, the fact that it works, all that other stuff I already talked about, the intent of this video is to try to make that notch and see how that works. Okay, so here's the adapter on the front notch in the side skirt. Like I said, I'm trying to hit, I definitely want to hit this notch here because that's where the most of the weight of the car is in the front end because of the motor. So obviously I want this to be as far forward as possible. At least from my experience so far, having this closer to the front has worked out better even with using the rubber blocks. So there's the front adapter. Now I'm going to try to pan down to the other end here. I don't know how much of this you're going to be able to see. Sorry about the crappy camera angle. So here's the back adapter, and after looking at the underneath of the car, I can't get the camera in a decent enough angle to do this. Well, let's see here. Hold on a second. So after looking underneath of the car, you can see, you know, where the back block is actually one of the mounting points for the side skirt. So I can't go too far back that way. So basically what I'm looking at is, you know, in that center block there, which is actually where the rubber blocks have been used so far. I don't know if you'll be able to see this from the camera angle, but you can see that the side skirt has already warped a little bit from using the rubber blocks. This car's so low to the ground. But you can see right in here, right in this area here, which is where the rubber blocks have been used, you can see, I don't know if you'll be able to see it or not, hopefully you can see, but the skirt has been basically bowed out of shape from the rubber blocks putting pressure there. And that's why I'm trying to do this. I don't want the skirt to get any more damage than it already is. So what I'm going to do is, you can see I put a piece of painter's tape up there to try to help with not damaging the skirt as much as possible as I cut it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to probably cut a notch from this area here and maybe to as far forward as here to give me some room to move back and forth in this area here, you know, to position the pinch weld adapter. So that's what I'm going for. So we'll see how this turns out. Okay, so after a lot of well, what I would consider hard work, I was able to finally get the side skirt notched. It ended up that I had to use a razor blade to actually cut the plastic. There was no way with the clearance of the car to get any kind of power tools under the edge to cut the notch, so I did do it with a razor blade. But as you can see, the results are exactly what I wanted. You can see that the pinch weld adapter now sits just like I wanted it to, using my wood block to you know, provide jacking along the whole section of the jack. And you can see that the skirt is not touching the jack itself in any point at all. So you can see the, you know, pretty much exactly how I wanted from the back, on the back part of the car. And then on the front, you can see again, the pinch weld adapter is what's hitting the car, and the skirt itself is not touching the car at all. So all in all, even though getting the notch cut was a bit of a pain in the ass and had to be done manually with a razor blade, all in all, it turned out to be exactly what I had hoped. This will make my life with the Quickjack, I don't know, much more enjoyable, happier, easier, however you want to term it. But my use of the Quickjack will ultimately be much easier from my perspective. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, you know, the Quickjack itself worked exactly as it was supposed to work. And at the end, this is just about me wanting to make it easier to use in my specific situation. So with that, I will say it has been a success as far as the modification goes. So thanks for watching, and if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel.